Right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. The year in review for Disney. Disney stock fell 44%. In fact, this is the lowest stock, the worst year anyway, sorry, for Disney stock, since 1974. Since 1974. The worst year for Disney stock in terms of performance and tracking. Pretty terrible year. Like, genuinely pretty terrible. So Disney stock fell 44% in 2022 amid tumultuous year. Now this is from the Hollywood Reporter, and it's really telling that even they're noting that, you know, it was a lower than expected Avatar global opening weekend, which, you know, it is important. Avatar's doing really well. It's crossed like $1.17 billion global. It needs to hit 1.5 billion to break even and then start making profit. But it did open with a lower than expected box office, and that does matter because obviously people look at that on the markets and go, "Ooh, change, ooh, not so good, ooh," and a lot of it is fairly unwarranted here and there. But look, it is what it is. I think a large proportion of this, loads of people will quote COVID and stuff, but a lot of this is actually primarily Disney's focus on streaming and what an absolute shit show that was. The amount of money they poured into it for nothing. Not really good in terms of their profits. And then, of course, changing CEOs as well. So I saw this. This is just, it's an interesting article. It really, really is. So let's take a look. Let's talk about Disney's stock, which is interesting. So they say, and the reason why this is so interesting, just as an FYI for those that care, is that this is the biggest studio there is. Yeah, sure, they get primarily most of their income from the likes of their parks, but they're still the biggest studio. They own everything, basically everything. So them having such a bad year, yeah, could have a knock-on effect to things to come. Not necessarily the market on a whole, but other studios looking to sort of jump in and stuff. And there was some rumours that they were being prepped to be sold to Apple and loads of stuff. But anyway, so it's been a rough year and a rough week for Disney stock, even as Avatar: The Way of Water continues to bring in dollars at the box office, which it has done really, really well. But shares of Disney finished the year by closing at 86.88 on Friday, down less than 1%, and a welcome reprieve from the downward slump that began earlier this week. And that is, of course, after Avatar: The Way of Water performed well overall. So it is literally that saved it currently at the last minute. But still below tracking expectations. So the stock hit a new 52-week low. So even with things on the up, it's still a new 52-week low this week. And it's down 44% over the past year. And this is why you have situations with Bob Chapek that happened. You know, just boosting him out because they're like, shit, how do we fix this? Go! We'll just remove him instantly from everything. And that's why, you know, I mean, again, new 52-week low, down 44% across the whole year. It's not good. It's not good. The decline contributed to making the worst year for Disney stock since 1974, per the Dow Jones market data, cited by the Wall Street Journal. Real bad. Real bad for Disney. That is not a good sign. But again, there are some sort of thoughts, thought processes there with respect to them looking to sell up. So we'll see. We will see what happens. Loads of people sort of instantly write that off as sort of nonsense, but I don't think so. I honestly don't think it's nonsense. Not completely. While Avatar's now cracked 1 billion, in fact 1.17, becoming only the 6th film to reach that milestone in its first 14 days, which is insane. The big budget film had a more modest start than expected, which loads of people sort of expected anyway. The sequel opened to $135 million domestic, which would be a healthy debut for most, but came in below tracking estimates of $150 to $175 million, and that makes people really concerned. The movie's not done well in China currently because they're COVID-19 and they're looking to go zero COVID. Done 57.1 million sort of opening weekend. I think it's done over 100 now, if I remember rightly, rather than the expected estimates of more than $100 million. And on top of that, director James Cameron has said that the movie would need to make around $2 billion to break even, but that's wrong. And I will insert the clip now of him correcting himself. And I'm amazed that the likes of the Hollywood Reporter have not jumped on that, and this just goes to show bad journalism. If I can find that out, a guy that sits in an office at home making YouTube videos, the Hollywood Reporter should be able to correct themselves. And this is why you should come to me for your news. Disney stock is not alone in its pain. The S&P 500 is facing its worst annual performance since 2008. Many media stocks were also battered this year. This is the thing, you know, shares of Netflix have fallen 51%, but I mean, that's a case of get woke, go broke. Loads of people are sick of Netflix. They produce far too much content, and the vast majority of it is actually poo. You get the odd golden goose in there every now and then. Take Wednesday, for instance. Great show. However, it's been a troubled year for Disney specifically. So the problems began earlier this year when Disney was thrust into controversy after management's lack of response to, the legislation, the Florida bill, basically, which is no. I don't think that was controversy. I think that was just a bunch of activists pushing them to do stuff. But whatever. As one of many media companies contending with a high cost of streaming, Disney stock took a particular hit after the company's fourth quarter earnings results in early November, in which the media giant reported growth in streaming subscribers, but missed revenue expectations and reported high streaming losses. That's because they were pouring billions into it. Even as management signalled this is the peak, several analysts cut their price targets in light of growing losses and challenged linear business. And then, of course, Bob Chapek, doing like a hiring freeze. I don't see what the issue is with that. Loads of companies have done that, and loads of companies have even laid people off. Most sort of Silicon Valley companies, you know, the big sort of Google, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, Amazon, everyone's laid people off. And then, of course, Bob Iger returned. But this has contributed to such a bad response for Disney stock specifically. It's really not done well. Really not done well. Now, it's interesting. We have Stephen Cahill, who is Wells Fargo analyst, who said this. You know, we'd characterize investor sentiment around our DIS meeting as highly interested, but not yet bullish. We think management is reviewing every part of the strategy since Iger's resurgence. Investors think changes will be at the margins versus strategic near term. Iger has the same cards to play as Chapek did, because Chapek was playing the cards that Iger set him up with. But there could be a path to greater comfort on DTC profits. Now, Cahill said he believes that the focus will be on the same content rationalization and cost-cutting measures Chapek was eyeing. So basically, nothing's going to change with Iger in power, which I said from the start. And they said this, you know, we think Bob Iger is returning to DIS to make big changes. Spinning ESPN ABC is the best path forward. And we see it as a reasonably probable late 23 event. Splitting would leave remaining DIS at an attractive, pure play IP company. So there you have it. It's been shockingly bad for Disney. Worst stock year since 1974. Couldn't happen to a better company. Terrible. I mean, who cares? You know, Disney's one of these companies that you just... I don't love to see companies crashing and burning. It's never good. But this is one of those things that, insert joke and meme, you get what you effing deserve. Like, that is basically what's happening here. So there's not an awful lot else to say, really. It'll be interesting to see what starts to happen moving forwards. Because loads of people obviously hailed Iger coming back in as the godsend. He will save Disney. And I said at the time, he's not going to save it, because Iger will just have what Chapek was playing with, and Chapek was just playing with what Iger was playing with. Iger left and set Chapek up for failure with everything that he left him with. I mean, he had a streaming platform that Iger had established, and Bob Chapek was like, "Ah, shit, how do I make this? How do I make this work?" And then there was all the other movies. I mean, they're years in the works. Chapek was only in power for like a year, if that. And all the other films, all the films that bombed under Chapek were what Iger had greenlit anyway. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in 2023. These kind of companies will never die because, of course, they have the large backing of like BlackRock and things like that. But let me know what you guys think down below. Love to hear any and all of your thoughts. Hope you have a fantastic new year. Take care.